Ethan had always loved exploring old, forgotten places. When he stumbled upon the abandoned Crescent Hotel on the outskirts of town, he knew he had to spend a night there. The hotel had been closed for decades, its doors locked and windows boarded up. But one night as he walked past, he saw something strange. The entrance was wide open, and a warm light flickered from inside. Curious and excited, he stepped in. The air smelled of dust and old wood, but the lobby looked pristine. The chandeliers sparkled, the red carpets were spotless, and a bellhop in a vintage uniform stood at the reception desk. "Welcome, sir," the bellhop said with a smile. "Your room is ready." Ethan hesitated. "I didn't book a room." "But of course you did," the bellhop insisted, handing him an old-fashioned key with the number 407. "Please enjoy your stay." Uneasy but intrigued, Ethan took the key and headed upstairs. The room was beautiful, antique furniture, a grand four-poster bed, and an old mirror that covered half the wall. He placed his bag down and sat on the bed, still trying to understand how a hotel that was supposed to be abandoned could be so well kept. Then something caught his eye. The mirror. The reflection was wrong. His suitcase wasn't there. The bed was unmade. And there was someone else in the room. A woman in an old-fashioned dress stood in the reflection, her pale face expressionless. But when Ethan turned around, no one was there. His heartbeat quickened. He turned back to the mirror. The woman was closer now, her hollow eyes staring into his. She lifted a hand and placed it against the glass. Ethan felt an icy chill rush through his body as he reached out instinctively. The moment his fingers touched the mirror, the room changed. The walls cracked, the wallpaper peeled away, and the chandelier flickered out. The pristine hotel dissolved into what it truly was, an abandoned, decayed ruin. Ethan turned to run, but the door was gone. The only thing left was the mirror, now cracked and fogged. He pounded against it, screaming for help, but his voice made no sound. The reflection showed the room as it had been, but he was no longer there. The next morning, the hotel stood silent and empty once again. No sign of life. No sign of Ethan. Only the dusty old mirror and the faint imprint of a hand pressed against the glass. "Are you sure about this?" Adam's friend Luke hesitated as they stood outside the grand but ominous St. Vincent Hotel. "Of course," Adam grinned. "It's just a hotel." But St. Vincent wasn't just any hotel. It was infamous. Guests spoke of strange occurrences, of people who entered certain rooms and never came back out. Adam, a skeptic, wanted to prove it was all just stories. They booked room 613, the one rumored to be cursed. The receptionist gave them a strange look but handed over the key without a word. The room was ordinary at first glance. A large bed, a desk, an old television set. But something felt off. The walls seemed too close, the air unnaturally still. The door shut behind them with a heavy finality. Luke dropped his bag on the bed. "See? Just a normal." The lights flickered. A low hum filled the air, like a distant voice whispering just beyond their reach. The television turned on by itself, static filling the screen before the image of a woman appeared. "Help me," she whispered, her eyes wide with terror. Then the screen went black. Adam turned to Luke, but his friend wasn't there anymore. His heart stopped. "Luke." The bed was empty. The room was silent. But he had just been there. He turned to the door and yanked it open. But it didn't open. Instead, there was just another wall. The door had vanished. The windows were gone. The room was shrinking. The whispers grew louder, more desperate, until Adam realized they weren't whispers at all. They were screams. The next morning, the receptionist at St. Vincent Hotel crossed room 613 off the guest list. Another guest had checked in, but none had ever checked out. The Grand Hollow Hotel prided itself on elegance and service. Guests spoke of its lavish rooms and impeccable hospitality. But they never spoke of the butler. Mr. Thompson arrived late at night, exhausted from his long journey. The moment he stepped inside, he felt the air grow heavier. An elderly man in a black suit greeted him at the reception desk. "Welcome, sir," the butler said in a quiet, steady voice. "Your room is prepared." Mr. Thompson nodded, too tired to question why a butler rather than a receptionist was checking him in. He followed the man up the winding staircase to room 215. "The Grand Hollow is very accommodating," the butler continued as he unlocked the door. "We ensure every guest stays as long as they need." Mr. Thompson entered, grateful for the warm bed waiting for him. The butler stood at the door watching. "Call if you need anything," he said, bowing slightly before closing the door. That night, Mr. Thompson awoke to the sound of soft footsteps inside his room. He turned over, expecting to see the butler. But there was no one there. Then the whispering began. "You shouldn't have come." He bolted upright. "Who's there?" Silence. He grabbed his phone, but there was no signal. The door thudded. His heart pounded as he turned toward the mirror. The butler stood inside the reflection, watching him from within the glass. Mr. Thompson turned around. Nothing. He faced the mirror again. The butler was closer now. His face, once calm and professional, was twisted into something unnatural. A gaping, hollow smile. Cold, lifeless eyes staring hungrily at him. The last thing Mr. Thompson saw was the butler stepping forward, reaching through the glass. He screamed, but no one heard. Because at the Grand Hollow Hotel, guests never leave. They simply become part of the service.